Sure. My name is Kelly Ash, and I teach songwriting to you guys in the next 8 weeks, yeah. I got a master's degree from NYU University, and I went to Cornish for my bachelor's degree. Anyway, that's enough. So now I'm passing the ball to my colleague Andrew Faith. He's gonna tell you everything.
My name is Andrew. Andrew Bates. That's about all I got. So let's just start by singing our names, yeah?
Okay, that's fair, that's fair.
That was really good.
Hey, thanks.
I can't think that fast on the spot and
No,
play
I
at the same
can't
time.
Well, yeah, you're playing too, so stakes are high. So yeah, you guys, no pressure. Just whatever comes to you. Be an intro. Who wants to go first?
My name is Carmen, Carmen Lightmore, and I was singing in high school,
That's fine. If you're done, you can pass the ball. Rosetta. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm Michael. I haven't sang in 20 years. And I don't dance.
That's real. Alright. Very good. Well, nice. Thanks for playing. Okay, cool. So, I'm gonna grab my iPad and be right back. So, we've got a pretty detailed outline for you guys today. First of all, we're gonna talk about what we're gonna cover in the course. So, this is kind of the big structure of our 8 weeks. Song analysis, that's pretty much today. We're going to talk about the songs you guys picked out for our class, and then we're talking about song structure and what makes, you know, a successful or attractive song, let's say, and all of that has to do with the hook. So that's kind of tonight's theme. How do I write a good hook? Next week is all about chord progressions. Then we'll write lyrics, melody. We'll talk about rhythm and groove. And then song textures, including harmonies, instrumental textures, and notating our charts so that the band can play them. And then the last couple weeks will be performance prep and rehearsal with the band. So that's kind of where we're going.
We're going to cram a band in here.
We're going to cram a band. We're going to have to ditch some,
Furniture.
Furniture.
Going on the
Who needs
sidewalk.
that anyway? Just yard
I
sale.
thought you were going to say students.
Now we like you guys. So, just wanted to say in terms of the scope of the class, we're doing a lot in 8 weeks, but there's a lot more out there, including like, let's say lyrics. You could probably do an entire class on just writing lyrics if it's something that you're really into. So we're going to talk about it in a much smaller subsection. I mean, we're going to deal with it obviously, but if you guys want more information, there's a lot of great books, including Writing Better Lyrics. There's a free Coursera course called Songwriting Writing Lyrics. And this could be just stuff, you know, if you're looking for extra outside or afterward. Just thought I'd put that up there because it's a big topic.
And these links are
Oh yeah.
available.
So I have a site here. I'm going to email you guys all of this, but it'll take you to my little music teacher helper website, and I've got links to all those books. It's really slow, I guess, but links to the books. I have some PDFs and things like that, so extra materials, and I'll reference in an email after each class which PDFs, if any, are applicable. So they're all right up here under resources. Okay, so that's all for you guys. If you need more. All right, so let's talk about our listening homework. Why not? So you guys got to see our funny videos of us analyzing one or two or multiple things about a song. Whoa.
Whoa!
Forgot to give myself a
Was
check.
yours funny? I didn't know if mine was funny. I wasn't trying to be funny.
I thought it was amusing. So yeah, let's just say, first of all, did anything make sense, or did you have questions about the way that we had analyzed stuff? Was it pretty okay?
I think it makes sense.
Made sense.
Okay. Well, yeah, let's talk about your homework. A little show and tell. Which songs did each of you guys pick?
I did Nursing Home by Ministry.
Okay.
Great.
Cool. What else did you guys?
I did Someone Like You.
Oh, nice.
Mhm.
Good.
Mhm.
And Rosetta?
I'll find it.
You'll find it. Okay. So I'd like to go around and have each of you guys kind of take the floor for a minute, and you could talk about one or two component pieces that you drew out, something that you heard or that you were analyzing through the song, and it doesn't have to be quite as in-depth as ours was, but it can be if you want it to be. Would anyone like to go first?
I guess I will.
Okay, cool. And should we play a little bit of the song?
Sure.
Is this thing on?
Is this thing on? Knock, knock. What's the song called?
Nursing Home.
I think I'm linked up. By Ministry?
Yeah.
Hey, Ray.
Are you guys okay if I let the cat out of the bag? Of the bedroom?
So before it starts playing, I wrote for song for the intro. It sounds like a demonic orchestra is tuning up, and then he does the count in, and then it just starts right with the groove. So you can go ahead and play it.
All right.
My favorite thing about this song is the instrumentation. There's a banjo, a saxophone, and one of the rudest, gnarliest bass lines that's front and center in the mix. And
They sure is banjo.
I instantly lock into any song with a saxophone, but when it's also got a banjo and this crazy bass line, I love it. And then I don't know if you can hear, there's some texture things. It sounds like a dentist drill.
Yeah, you hear that?
And it kind of adds to the mood of like dread or foreboding,
Yeah.
discomfort. And then the saxophone, of course, is awesome. I like how the bass and the banjo are they leave a lot of space in between notes, and that leaves a lot of space for the saxophone solo stuff and the texture stuff to leak through. And then later on, toward the end of the song, all that space is filled up to the maximum. It's all filled to the top.
Nice. Sorry, keep going.
And the lyrics. I've been listening to this song for almost 10 years and I didn't know what the lyrics were.
Yeah.
Did you look them up or did you just try to listen?
I tried to listen and then I looked it up.
Okay.
And I found out there was no consensus on what the lyrics were. So
That's
I think the
interesting.
intention was either
So it's unintelligible lyrics.
barely intelligible.
Okay. But you couldn't find any lyrics.
Consistent.
I found some, but they were inconsistent even
Okay.
from the record label. So either the words were less important than the sounds that they were making,
Yeah.
or he was really messed up when he recorded it.
Wait, who's it by?
Ministry.
Ministry.
Okay, this is cool. I remember
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And the way the vocals are recorded, kind of lo-fi into like a crappy CB radio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
That's mostly what I
That's
got.
great. Great.
Awesome. Great. Man.
Very
Thank you,
cool.
Michael.
Yeah, that was great.
Amazing.
Oh, I also wrote down for the saxophone, the playing sounded like either a complete amateur or a virtuoso with a really free mind.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference.
Yeah, totally. Totally. That's great.
It reminds me of the saxophone. Some of the saxophone playing that first got me into wanting to play saxophone is from the Lost Highway soundtrack.
Yep.
Are you familiar with that?
Uh-huh.
And is it on the Rammstein tracks, or is it just like that kind of free jazz tenor player? Do you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
though?
It's not on-
super out.
It's not on the Rammstein.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
It's a real legit
That's-
sax player.
That's my kind of sax playing.
Yeah,
I love
totally.
that. I love that stuff. Okay,
That's
so.
really cool.
But for the record, Al Jorgensen did play the saxophone on that.
Oh wow. Okay. So yeah, you touched on a lot of things. The thing that leaps out to me is the notes that you took on phrasing. So you can so phrasing really is just kind of the overall shape of a phrase, right? So it's you mentioned the saxophone leaving, or some of the instruments leaving room for the saxophone, and the saxophone is doing the same thing for the other instruments. They're kind of trading off. So we could kind of say that within your songwriting efforts, you can have almost like conversations between ideas. Ideas can speak to each other in kind of like a symmetrical way or non-symmetrical way. But I really liked the things that you said about phrasing, because that totally comes into play when you're writing lyrics, when you're writing melody. How long should your phrase be? And what you pointed out is that phrases, if they're short, it leaves a lot of room for other textures and other ideas. So that jumped right at me. And then I loved what you said about the obscure lyrics, because we'll get back around to this, but I know we had discussions in our previous class, Rosetta, about like what is the role of lyrics in a song, and what you said was totally spot on. It's like it seems like they were just using it as a texture and not even as like a message device.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
like the vowels were an instrument rather than.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
That's super insightful.
Yeah.
So more on that later, but
Yes.
love that. And then the texture of the vocals, that's a cool thing to notice, and we probably won't get so much into that in this course. But that's kind of like more of a production.
Recording and production.
Yep.
Maybe
But-
a session 2.
Yeah. Love it though. Thank
That
you
was
for sharing.
great.
That was awesome.
Great analysis.
Great analysis.
Yes.
Before I think anybody got here, we were talking about analysis, and he was saying after he watched our videos that he was hearing things in the songs that he
Oh,
picked
cool.
more than, right?
That's great.
Yeah.
A lot of this kind of thing is learning how to listen well.
Yeah.
And then being able to replicate. And that's kind of what or to imitate. That's kind of where we're going to go with this in a second. But first,
Yeah.
ladies, who's up?
I'll go.
Yay.
Next name of my song is Walk by Quabs.
Do you want me to pull it up?
Sure.
Walk by who?
KWAS. Wait, no. KWABS.
Quabs.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say about the song before I start playing it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what I love so much about this song, but, like, it's really cool. I like the lyrics, which doesn't happen, like, as often as just, like, the background or the tune of a song, so that's cool. Oh, wow. We have some,
Some friendly discourse.
so tired. I've had, like, a cold for the last week and a half, and I had to stay home from school, and now I'm, like, having to interact with people. It's so weird.
Yeah, totally.
You know what makes it better? Chocolate.
Yeah.
Is anybody allergic to peanut butter?
No.
Do you want to be
Yes.
say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, those are so good.
I like them, but I'm gonna pass.
But
You're like, yeah, but no.
No, it's not for
It's not going to go.
They don't care well.
Back up.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so before we play, anything you want us to know about it?
I think the hook is probably just like what it starts out with. It's like the chorus
Okay.
is the hook.
Okay.
The background's really cool. I like the bass.
You said you like
Okay.
the lyrics, which is
Lyrics.
amazing.
So I like pretty much everything about this song.
Great.
So
There's,
did you
like, an
pick?
annoying
Did you
part.
pick the song already pretty familiar with it, or did you
I don't know.
familiarize yourself with it in this exercise?
I'm like kind of familiar with it. I listen to like thousands of songs, so I don't know. I listen to them all like I don't know.
Okay, so you would
Two
say that
times a
you
month.
more deeply familiarized yourself with the song through this exercise.
Not really. I'm
Okay.
kind of
Fair enough.
slightly familiar.
Is this right?
Oh, is this the one with Fetty Wap?
Yeah, is this not the right one?
No, you can play it, but it's. I'm thinking of the one without Fetty Wap.
Oh, interesting.
Here's no Fetty Wap.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we listening for?
Like this part right here, I'd say is the hook.
So this gets repeated later in the song?
Yeah.
Okay.
It starts out like without really a beat, or like without. Yeah, and then it adds the beat later, and then it sort of keeps the same beat throughout the whole thing, which kind of like keeps it together, I think. And so that was really cool. Like as other parts of the song change, this stays. Yeah. This is a verse.
Okay, cool. So did you do some song structure analysis? It sounds like it, based on like. So you say this is the hook. Would you say it's the chorus?
Also the chorus, yeah.
Okay.
Like, it's the part of the song that sticks in my head, so it says also the hook.
Okay, all right, that's an important distinction.
Yeah.
And so it's got hook or chorus. It sounds like they're conflated, or they
Yeah.
should be conflated in this
In this song.
in this song. And then it's hook, verse, hook, and then verse 2.
There's like kind of a bridge here.
Okay.
And then I'd say this is verse 2.
Okay. So we'll say structure. Okay. Anything else we should listen to? Anything else that stuck out to you?
There's like a really cool bass line at some point during the chorus, I think, and I don't know if we've passed it or not, but we could keep listening for
It's
it.
probably coming up right here.
That little like high note of some kind in the background is really cool.
The what?
Little.
Like the high note. Yeah, I don't know what instrument that is, but it's really cool. And this is the actual bridge, I think.
So the last thing that you called a bridge,
It was like, it wasn't a bridge. I think it was just a break after the chorus.
well, these are all kind of loose definitions.
Yeah, I
so
guess.
you can call
They're not-
call things whatever you want to call them, as long as you're consistent with what you're calling them.
Sure.
But you could also call that just an interlude without lyrics. You know, it kind of, because I anticipated that it was going to be a verse. You said no, this is a bridge.
Oh.
But what it ended up being actually was kind of like the verse without lyrics. So it wasn't a verse or a bridge. It was, I would just call it an interlude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in one of your videos, it said something about a after chorus or something.
Post-chorus.
Post-chorus. And
Yeah.
I think like this song has that because it kind of like takes bits of the chorus and makes a new tune after each chorus.
Yeah, and that would again these terms kind of get pretty loose. But a post-chorus, I would say, is something that's always specifically attached to a chorus, and usually it carries elements from the chorus into it, whether it be the rhythm or the chord progression or anything along those lines. Whereas an interlude, or like, I don't know what else to call it, just like a turnaround transition, usually would borrow from the section to come. But you know, it's all pretty loose. So we're just kind of like learning the vocabulary together. That's great, awesome. So the thing that do you have any commentary on what you just
Yeah,
said?
just keep going.
Yeah, cool. So the thing that really sprung out to me in what you said is that it doesn't start with a beat. So I want to listen to the beginning of the song again. Whether there's a beat or not, or the beat comes in later, is going to be an important distinction.
Gotta slow up, gotta shake this high. Gotta take a minute just to ease my mind. 'Cause if I don't go, then I get caught out. And I'll be falling all the way down. 100 headlights.
Okay, so you have a whole, and we're calling that the hook.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the hook then gets split into two parts, because it sounds like he doubles it, and is it the same both times when he comes back
I
in?
think so, yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's half of the hook. And then without percussion instruments. But the groove is implied. The beat
Yeah.
is implied there. You know immediately as soon as his voice comes in and the piano comes in, you know what the tempo is, you know what the groove is. All the information is there. The only thing that's missing is the actual drums. So that's an important thing to take note of, because you can. What do you have when you're writing a song? You have your voice, you have piano, and maybe that's all you have. Maybe that's all you have to work with. So you can do as much work as this without the drums and imply just as much as he is implying.
Yeah. Because it is like just...
It's all there. I mean, then the drums are just like, you can hear it.
Yep.
Not bass, whatever it is.
And we'll talk more about this as we continue on, but just starting to imagine what the drums are going to sound like in your head, and we'll go into some specific details about
How to do that.
how to do that, and like what the component parts of the drums are and what you're listening for. But conceptually, there's no better time to start thinking about what the groove or the tempo of your song is going to be than like at the beginning of when you're writing it. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
We made some notes about the hook being the chorus. The distinguishing factor there being that the hook is not always in the chorus. Sometimes the hook is something that gets repeated throughout the bridge. Sometimes it's just in the interlude. It can kind of get moved around, but in this case, it is actually the chorus. And then you made some notes on song structure and form. And structure and form are synonymous.
I think for the purpose of this class, we'll make them synonymous.
Yeah.
There's like song form, and then there's the arrangement.
Yeah.
That has to do with the other textures and sort of the transitions and the intros and the endings.
Yeah.
So, but the form itself is kind of the building blocks, and we'll talk about.
So structure can imply instrumentation and yeah.
I guess structure could maybe be both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great notes. Thank you for sharing, Rosetta. Carmen, what you got?
So with mine, like, I know the songs super well, which I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But I've been singing this for forever, and so I was like trying to go more in depth. Like, I started first just kind of weird. Like, I just like closed my eyes and I listened to it to kind of like think what I would be seeing like visually.
Okay.
Like that, if that makes sense. And I like noticed I kind of imagined like a ping pong ball like with her meaning of the lyrics, because at first, like, she's starting out by like talking about this guy and stuff, and saying like how much like love she has for him and how like she wishes it could have been different. And as soon as the chorus comes on, she's like, never mind, like it's different. So it's like she's going back and forth. And so like I wasn't really, I mean that's kind of something that's implied when you hear the lyrics, but if I started thinking about it visually, like I was noticing what I was imagining, and I liked that a lot. And I also like how, for me, as soon as the piano starts, I know exactly what song it is, because it's so simple, but it's so, like, moving, too, just the piano. And I don't know, like, as soon as I hear the song, I have a lot of emotion already in, like, my body, just from, because of how, I think, heavy the words are, and I like that a lot, too. I think this song just, like, is really emotional, and I love that about it. And that was, like, the main thing that I noticed as I started listening to it more and more, just how I felt as soon as I heard it without, like, with my eyes closed, I was like, oh wow, like this song like hits me.
Yeah.
And I liked that a lot, which I wasn't really realizing it when I was just hearing it and not really paying attention.
Passively, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And with the hook, I think, well, she repeats the chorus, and I think that's the part that sticks in, I mean, at least in my head the most, but then also the pre-chorus she repeats every time before the chorus too. So I don't really know which one was the hook.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Because that kind of confused me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all, I mean, it gets kind of very hard to define.
But I think with this song, I love how the piano doesn't change. And I think me playing the piano helps that because I know.
You can play this on piano?
Actually, wait, no, the chorus does change. The chorus and the verses are different. But it always goes back to the same
Yeah,
thing.
and the style of playing, arpeggiating the chords is kind of what ties everything together, even though the chords change.
Yeah.
So you don't feel a change in tempo, you don't feel a change in groove. Everything about that stays the same, just the chord changes underneath.
Yeah.
The picked apart chords
Pretty
change.
And I think
seamless.
I
Yeah.
like how simple it is, like hearing, but then how like complex it is with the meaning.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot.
Yeah.
In a way, the simplicity showcases
Yeah.
that emotional melody without getting in its way.
God, you just
Exactly.
wish
Like,
you could write
less is
something so
more.
simple and good
Right?
every time you
I
sit
know.
down to write. It's
And
just
it's-
what a gift.
Yeah, and it's interesting where it's like, you know, it is pretty simple in terms of it's just an arpeggio and it's a pretty familiar chord progression. So why does it get us like that?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to maybe dig into a next level analysis of if it's the lyrics, what kind of words or like what kinds of is she asking questions? Is she talking to somebody? Is it more internal dialogue? What kind of approach is the lyric taking that really does hit us, that makes it feel so real? You know?
So, and another thing you can do to really identify what it is that's so impactful about the lyrics and specifically where it hits you is to print out the lyrics and just underline or circle words
I like that,
or things that just like ideas, concepts, wherever it like really feels heavy or really hits you emotionally, and then figure out not only what the combination of words is, but you know, usually it's pretty obvious. It's like they say something poignant, but what's happening in the music underneath that lyric. I've thought a lot about I've thought a lot about like the partnering of poignant lyrics with a poignant chord change, and when you can get those things to work together, then you really kind of like hit an emotional, impactful place.
Yeah.
And in this song too, the instrumentation does that, or not the instrumentation, but the bass note coming in on the chorus, where we hadn't had that before, adds this layer of depth to it, where she gives us that bottom line.
Yep.
So again, kind of underscoring that really important line. So as we're kind of, did you want to say anything else about this particular?
Well, just so you touched on, I would call it theme related in terms of the, and I like the visual of a ping pong set, like a very long ping pong set,
It's a
where
long-
it goes over the course of the verse, and then we have the chorus, and then we have
It's like a space kind of ping pong.
yeah,
Space
space
pong.
Space pong. But that's because the idea of a, you know, as we were saying with your analysis, Michael, the idea of a conversation, it's so clear in a lyrical sense because it can be a literal conversation. But think about conversations in terms of partnering a melody with a lyric, or a melody with a chord progression, or lyrics with a chord progression. Think about how songs can talk to themselves. So that's really insightful. I love all that.
That's great.
And yeah, I mean, God, just like when you hear a song and it just moves you in that way. Like, not.
Hey.
How to get into what it is specifically that makes you feel that way, and you know, for the intent, for the For the purpose of academic reasons, and we're in this classroom to like teach you how to like recreate that experience, but then just to know, just to get, because man, when you get hit by a song, and it doesn't happen all the time. I mean, it's a really like special, rare feeling when you're like so taken by a song. It's just nice to know why. But it's you just kind of have to dig in there, and through the component parts that we're going to be exploring, all the things that Kelly mentioned before, structure, chord progression, melody, lyrics, textures. We'll be able to put names to the things that really get you guys moving about any type of song. So yeah, that's great.
So kind of to bring it all together, I didn't put this on the slide, but we were talking about how songs tend to thrive in a simple and urgent environment.
Yeah.
Whatever that means, kind of this idea of distilling a song to its essence.
Yeah.
Its reason for being.
Yeah.
Right? Its purpose. And that's a thing that people do with writing too, is like, what's the purpose of this, piece of writing? What is it intended to do? So if you guys were going to think about your song, it doesn't have to be a lyric-based purpose, right? Like in Michael's case, it probably is not. But what would be, definitely is not.
Patently not.
But what would be, if you thought about it for a second, if you boiled your chosen song down, what would be the big takeaway or the essence or like its reason for being? If you were going to sit down and write that song, what would you have just felt inspired by? Is that a weird question?
No, not at all. And I would say, you might have a specific answer to that song. I would argue one of the most beautiful things about writing music and writing songs is that sometimes you get to put into creation things that you can't describe, things that you can't articulate. So you can, that the answer to that question might just be a feeling that you can't put into words, and so you have to put it into a song.
Almost like painting something abstract.
Yeah, or like dancing for architecture, or
Yeah.
whatever the fuck Elvis Costello said.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think like going off of that, for me, like communicating, like obviously you can communicate with people, but I think when I sing, like I actually communicate like a lot like through me. Like I think if someone like needed, I don't know, like I think when I sing, like it's really me talking. I don't know how to explain it.
No,
like
absolutely.
I can't, I would do much better singing to someone than just having a conversation. Because I feel like I can be most me when I sing, and I can like, it's more the feeling that I give. I don't know.
I think that's so special when you can drop the curtain of like all the propriety and just be real, like just so raw that you're really connecting without all the nonsense, right? I think that's the magic.
Sometimes you have to take like years of acting classes to figure out how to do that. So
or just be like very comfortable
with
yourself.
It's really nice that you have that, and I can attest to that. Just hearing you sing at summer classes. You absolutely are right about that.
Yeah. So, do you guys have thoughts about this like reason for being? Do you have a thing that comes to mind, or?
Are you talking about the song that we picked for this?
Yeah, theoretically.
Just like a real brief description. Like, what do you think was going through the songwriters? Like, what were they trying to achieve?
Yeah.
I don't know, like, the words. I think for this one, like, saying that, like, it's okay that they're with someone else and that they're gonna be okay. I guess.
And you could even I think what we're saying is like zoom all the way out and just say
one
like
word.
Yeah.
One
like,
emotion.
Emotional impact.
Yeah.
Someone like you, emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Michael's I don't know. Maybe yours is about emotion, but I would venture to guess it's about something else. Or maybe like in the broader sense that every song is about emotion, but like specifically someone like you is about emotion.
And if it is, maybe you could do subcategory heartbreak and hope.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I like
something really like simple, like one or two words, right? Like I'm heartbroken, but I'm still hopeful.
Yeah. Like and in this sense, we're kind of talking about like theme, topic, mood.
Yes.
Like lyric based. Well, lyric and everything.
There could be a song that doesn't have meaningful lyrics. Like I'm thinking Sigur Rós, right? They have these really beautiful textured songs.
Or like Who Let the Dogs Out or something.
Yeah.
Like that's not why people listen
Right,
to that song. For,
exactly.
like, the emotional
That'd be a
impact.
different thing. But like with the Secret Rose, you might feel a lot of emotion, but
Oh,
it's
right.
not tied to a lyric, right? You
Yeah.
might feel uplifted or nostalgic or whatever, and they might have been trying to capture that feeling, but just get that across through instrumentation and layers as opposed to words.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you guys have thoughts about your song?
Oh, I want to hear what you guys have to say about your
Sure.
songs.
This isn't like one or two words, but I guess my song has like the feeling of needing to keep going and like never really being able to settle down, and how life is just like all about change, and you're never really gonna reach like your final destination, so you should be happy with wherever you are.
Ooh,
And just
that's
like
really nice.
yeah, and just in like that was the first time I'd ever heard that song, and it's like all of those sentiments are mirrored in the instrumentation and in the groove. It's all one packaged story.
Yep.
Yeah, it's nice. What about you, Michael?
Kind of a similar thing with mine. The length of the song betrays something about it. It's a 7-minute song, so they're not in a hurry to get to any specific point. I think what happened is he just found a groove, a bass groove or something that he just wanted to keep repeating and seeing what he could do with it, and bouncing different instruments off of it to see what it sounded like, and found kind of a bleak but a dark sense of humor kind of mood with it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's a little tongue in cheek,
Yeah.
which is
That's
great
cool.
for metal. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. What else could you ask for from metal? Totally. Your ear gravitates toward the bass, and so for you that's the reason for the song, and you can prescribe like maybe he was thinking, or maybe he wanted this, or maybe but like it's just as critical for you to say like, for me, like this song is about like, the other things are just textures. For me, this song is about the bass.
Yeah.
For me, this song is about the feeling of needing to move forward and to push forward, and that's all that it's about. But maybe like the person who wrote the song was thinking about something else. Maybe they're just like, I want a dance hall jam. And
That's not all it's about for me.
I want to get paid.
Right.
What'd you say?
Oh, it's not like all it's about for me. I mean, I love like most parts of the song.
Yeah, but even like just taking something that you can zoom in on,
Yeah.
I think is the point of what we're discussing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. So that can be an inspiration if there's something that you have inside of you that you're inspired by, whether it's lyrical or otherwise, or texture-based, or a mood, or a feeling, or just a reason for writing a song.
Yep.
Right? Other than, I want to make money or something, superficial. So think about those types of things, and they don't have to be based on lyrics. They can be based on just the desire to create something with a mood or a vibe or a groove or whatever, and sometimes that can set you free.
Well, maybe it would help if we talked about why we wanted to take this class.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah,
What our goal is.
yeah. Let's
Yeah.
do it. Let's sing it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Yeah. why don't
Somebody
you
else
start?
go first, because I don't know if my idea is fully formed yet.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
I'll
Yeah.
go first.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
I want to take this class because I like to write songs, and I like to sing, and I want to do more.
Good.
And you're still looking for that journal of notes.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere it's in your
Yeah,
hidden in your basement.
somewhere in my basement.
Yeah.
That could be a title.
Maybe from
Yes.
maybe from
It's an axe murder.
somewhere in my basement. You left my heart, girl.
Oh my god,
I think we're on.
so much.
It's dusty down there. Can I do my intro again? I forgot what I was gonna say. So yeah.
I've got a song, one of my favorite songs that has a basement lyric. Maybe I'll.
Yeah.
There you go. We can collaborate.
Maybe we'll have.
We'll
fun
come
with
back around to
later.
that.
Yeah.
Rosetta was saying she wants to write more songs and do more.
Yeah, and I was going to say this. So yes, this is what I was going to say. That this can be your opportunity to replace the Diary of Lyrics that
Yeah.
you've
Yeah,
kind of been like holding on to,
definitely.
because
New.
We're all about that new stuff.
I found some like really, really old songs that I did in GarageBand when I was 11.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't want to play them though because they're like the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me.
Oh,
No.
at least they're documented.
Yes, I mean I love them, but I hate them. So someone someday will find them and be like, oh.
So many embarrassing moments get
Wow.
left undocumented.
You have to learn though. Like there's always gonna be an awkward.
It's
You need those.
Gotta write a bunch
Definitely.
of bad songs.
If I'm ever like
Find
really
the good
mad at
ones.
myself, I'll just like punish myself by sending them everywhere. Just like post them, be like, here's all of my terrible deeds. You have access to them.
There you go. I like it. Well, cool. What about Carmen? What about you?
Well, obviously because like you told me about it, but then I wrote my own song and I
It was so good.
Thank
It was
you.
so beautiful. Did you?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I like after doing that, and after like the summer thing, like when you were talking about me writing my own song, it like really inspired me. I wrote it that night actually.
Really?
Yeah, and I wrote like that night I got home.
Amazing. Turns out
Because I said you can do it, and you're like, I can't. And I was like, yeah, you
And
can.
then I was like FaceTiming me and
Really?
we were like trying. Yeah, I was really trying.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Aw.
And and so after doing that, I wanted to do more.
Yeah,
Good.
great,
Good.
great reason to be here.
Yeah. Michael.
I think I'm here because the world I live in isn't supportive or encouraging. And so I try to find things that give me comfort, and one of the things that always gave me comfort was music, and being around musicians and making music and listening and talking to it, talking about it. So that's why I'm here. I don't necessarily have any songs that I feel like need to get out of me, but I like the process, I guess, more.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. We're gonna talk all about it. And you might find some songs in there.
Totally. I feel like
In the
does.
basement of your heart.
In the basement of your soul.
Something like this.
In the basement of your soul. All right. Well, that's really cool. So we'll return to this idea of inspiration and meaning and things like that. But moving along, so why do all of this analysis? Well, first of all, it provides a frame of reference, right? Some context. Looking at things, anything that you want to do, you look at somebody who does it well, and then you try to figure out, okay, what are they doing and how can I do that? So active listening is a really big thing. And again, once you start to listen this way, it'll be hard to stop listening this way.
Yeah.
You can't unhear these things once you start to hear it. So yeah, as you're listening to other music, start to see which textures you can pull out, what's the form, what's the instrumentation. The more you do that, the more aware you are, the more it's going to creep its way into your own writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think remembering back to when I first started writing songs, you get the sense when you sit down and it's blank slate and maybe you're just like trying to eke some sort of idea out and it's just like the whole universe is at your disposal and you just have no idea how you're going to take like this idea that you have or don't have and turn it into something concrete. And it's helpful to go listen to songs that you like that have specific orders and specific lengths, and it kind of like puts a body to the idea of writing a song. It reminds you that like a song can have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's possible to be done, and it's possible to analyze the different ways that it's done, so that when you sit down to write a song, you can think, okay, I can start, I can have a few things that happen, and then I can finish it. And that's really important because I think we get so overwhelmed with the idea of writing songs that sometimes that's enough to have us scrap the whole thing and go turn on Netflix.
Seriously.
Man, it's just so intimidating. But it's so specific and it's so simple when you get right down to it. Not necessarily the act of doing it, but cerebrally, the idea of songwriting can be so simple.
I like Andrew once described it as just a series of making choices.
Yeah.
Just start with the first choice being to write a song, and then make each choice one step at a time from there.
One choice at a time.
And we're going to lead you guys through that process. It's going to be pretty interesting because you're all going to end up maybe starting in different places, but by the end of it, all the pieces will come together. It'll be like a puzzle where you get one piece to start with and then kind of fill in the gaps. So imitating things we like is always good. Obviously, a knowledge of some theory and lyric technique can be useful, but, you know, we'll get to that. We can use our ears. I want to come back to that. Okay, so song structure. So building blocks and common forms. This is probably pretty review, but I feel like it needed to be said tonight.
Yep.
Before we do too much. So this idea that
The
a song...
body of the song.
Yeah. The song can have a beginning, a middle, and end. It can have these small sections, so you don't have to deal with this huge, overwhelming thing. You can just do it one little piece at a time. So I pulled this stuff from a book resource called 6 Steps to Songwriting Success. A snappy little title. So I liked this. This kind of, I thought was nice. Songwriting is an art that is based upon successful communication, and you mentioned communication. Mm-hmm. And that could be communication in terms of the lyric, or just communication of the vibe, or the feeling, or whatever.
The idea, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there are a limited number of song structures commonly heard in hit songs. He's speaking mostly to like really hit pop music, so I would say there's a lot of other song forms that can be successful. Obviously there's going to be exceptions, but these very common
song structures.
These really common structures can be learned and used effectively. And it is possible to take an idea that starts in my heart and communicate it within the confines of one of these structures without compromising the integrity, the meaning, or the essence of the song. Like, there tends to be songs that are like us just pouring our heart out for like 12 minutes, and it just kind of is wandering around, and we're like, but I really feel it, man. And like, why wouldn't everyone else just hear that?
Yeah.
So, but we need to deliver it to our audience in a little more packaged way, where they can really understand us. And it doesn't compromise the essence of
Yeah, there's a difference between writing a song and reading your diary out loud.
Okay, crafting. Okay, so this piggybacks on that. Crafting songs that incorporate one of the most popular structures is analogous to using proper grammar and punctuation to better communicate our ideas when we speak or write. So again, just packaging it in a way that's digestible.
And we'll give you the tools to do that.
Yes. And then finally, using song structures does not alter the message or the essence of our songs. Rather, it helps us deliver our melodic and lyric ideas to listeners, enabling them to more readily feel those feelings that we hope to evoke. So I thought that was nice. In terms of feeling like it's okay to put some parameters on myself. I'm not going to diminish this like pure and wonderful thing that I'm feeling.
So oftentimes the opposite. You'll come to more stark conclusions if you give yourself a set of parameters. You'll actually just unearth the like true value of what you're trying to say.
Yeah, trying to be concise is actually more difficult. Right? Can you get more done in a shorter time? All right, this I'm just going to blow through because I feel like you guys are fairly versed in this anyway. But the building blocks of songs, the verse tends to tell the story of the exposition. It tends to be 4 to 8 lines of lyrics. Again, this is info that I just pulled from here, but it's stuff we know. It's usually 8 or 16 bars. Verses have the same melody each time they come around, but the lyrics change. Right, so we get more of the story on each verse. Sometimes they don't. We'll just say, disclaimer, everything has exceptions.
And anytime I can recycle a verse, anytime I can do it, I do it.
Yeah.
I absolutely
There's a lot of
love recycling verses.
It's great, and it's kind of fun because you're like, maybe I should think about it a different way the second time now that they're saying it again. Doesn't usually have the title in it, but it can. There was a reference made to country songs where like the last line is the title, and then the title comes up in the chorus as well. So it just kind of keeps hitting you in the face. Pre-chorus is an optional section. Not all songs have them. It's usually a short section, 2 to 4 lines, maybe 4 bars, kind of prepares and builds us up as a transition from the verse, building you into the chorus. Each pre-chorus has the same melody, but can have new or the same lyrics. So you can switch them out.
So like in Someone Like You, what is the pre-chorus? I hate to turn up the blue
And then is it the same the next time it comes around?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. All right, and then the chorus, yay! It's kind of the gist of the song where the idea is delivered. Usually contains the title. Sometimes it's only the title. If you think, I will always love you, that's the only line in the chorus. Right?
Yeah.
Or hit me with your best shot.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
happy birthday.
Yeah. Yes. What's the song for me? It's catchy. Lyrically summarizes the idea or the emotion in a general way. It's easy to remember, so it's not detailed, right? It's very general, very easy to grasp. And all choruses have the same melody and the same lyrics, again, because you want people to remember it
Yeah.
and sing along. You don't
Yeah.
want to mix it up because it's hard to remember stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
The bridge, the departure or the release from the rest of the song. Again, it's optional. Not all songs have bridges. Could be 4 to 8 bars, 2 to 4 lines. I don't know if that's legit, but maybe in pop songs. It could be longer or shorter. I don't
And
know.
I just tell you, like, every time I listen to a Taylor Swift song, I'm like, whoa, there's the bridge.
Yeah.
She's just like
Sometimes
really.
she writes 2 bridges.
They're like forced ass bridges. It's like,
Yeah.
ooh, wow, bridge time.
Bridge
you
time.
needed to add 40 seconds to this song, and there's the bridge.
Yeah, there it is.
There.
And
Sure
sometimes
is.
she'll bring the bridge back. She
Yeah.
does weird stuff.
Yikes.
Sometimes the bridge could be instrumental, but I guess in pop songs it's not as oftenly done. The bridge is cool though because it adds contrast or a new perspective or new information, which allows us to evaluate the chorus or the title from a different angle. So it could be using specific language when the rest of the song was fairly general, or vice versa. It could be a new time frame, past, present, future. Could be a surprise.
Yeah, I don't advocate for this, but oftentimes, and I actually feel like it's kind of a weak songwriting device, is to use the bridge to kind of like play devil's advocate, if that makes sense. You know what I'm talking about? Where you're like, you're saying like, I feel this way, and then I definitely feel this way in the chorus, and then in the bridge you're like, but what if you didn't feel that
What
way?
if?
And I feel like that's weak.
Yeah.
But like,
Just
sometimes
maybe
that
don't do
happens.
that.
So maybe don't do that. But like, if you do it, then like, do it well.
I like it when there's a surprise though, or like, you get more information about the story.
It's like, is the
She's
piano
cra-
falling on me? No, it's
She's crazy.
can't.
But yeah, I like it when you get a surprise that makes you like think back on the rest of the song in a different way. For some reason, I'm thinking like, the Beatles or
Yeah.
stuff like that, where you're all of a sudden you're like, oh, what? That's what that meant. Oh man.
Yeah. Paul McCartney really does.
Yeah, Paul McCartney, exactly. The bridge also has new chords or a new kind of tonality. Sometimes could be a new melody or rhythm, different melodic range. Pretty much it's just real
usually it's a
different.
lift. There's an energetic lift. That's why I think why Taylor Swift is always throwing bridges into her songs. She's like, this song needs more.
Yeah, and
More
the reasoning
please.
is because it usually only happens one time, and it's kind of like 2/3 of the way or further. Like we've already heard the verse and the chorus and the verse and the chorus, and we need something
Something else.
to take the energy up one more time before we end the song. If we feel like we need a bridge, that's its function. So verse, chorus, bridge, chorus.
Chorus.
That's when you mix the chorus and the bridge.
Porridge.
Or in some song forms, you could have verse, bridge, verse, and that's a different form. We're going to talk about that. And finally, kind of just felt like I should put this in here. Intros, instrumental solos, turnarounds, and endings. Again, sort of a differentiation between the form of the song and the arrangement of those sections and how they transition to one another. Usually 4 to 8 bars is plenty for an intro if you're writing like a pop song. Other songs can do all kinds of things.
Billie Jean being the probably famous exception.
True, that is true. Except you could say the bass line is kind of a hook.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe. Okay.
Maybe.
The transition or turnaround can occur after the first chorus to take you back to the verse. So, how do we get from our sections once we have them? So we'll talk about those little pieces. And then if you have a solo, where is it? What's the purpose of it? Do you need one? And what's the function? Okay, song structures. I think we're all kind of familiar with this.
Does anything that that has popped up on the screen so far, is it perplexing? Does it sound totally
No.
Pretty
like
review.
you've never heard it before?
Just felt like
It
I would
all
be
kinda makes
remiss
sense.
not.
Kind of like attaches to like a concept that makes sense for songs that you've heard. Cool.
Mhm. Yeah, I just felt like we should go over it,
Mm-hmm.
day one. And when you're listening to songs, see if you can track the form. It can be interesting when you're first hearing a song that you've never heard before
Yeah.
to see if you can figure out what the form is pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But sometimes it needs multiple listenings. Sometimes you can start with the chorus. It's a little less common. But anyway, there's that. So you could do this exercise if you like to think big picture and you're like, okay, what kind of structure might I employ? You could listen and do an analysis of a song. See if you can identify each section. Where is the title? How many bars are in each section? How many lines of lyrics? Blah, blah, blah. So again, kind of tying it all back into this analytical listening, putting the pieces in place.
So even if you know what all these component parts mean, the reason we're discussing it is because we want to instill in you an urgency to really think about these things discerningly as you're listening to music throughout this course, because you're going to learn so much. It's all onioned in there, and you're just going to start peeling back layers until you have really meaningful understandings of the songs that you love.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay.
Or this cat.
Okay, and this cat.
Let's peel back a couple layers.
Do we want to, okay, so I thought this was a fun exercise, kind of optional. We don't have to do it in class if you don't want to, but maybe on your own, take a song that you know or like, and keep the chords. You can maybe find like a karaoke track or play the chords, and write a new melody or lyrics. You can even keep the melody and write new lyrics.
Yep.
So that'd be like a stepping stone.
Or keep the lyrics, write a new melody.
Oh.
Yeah. So you
Tricky.
just taking away one component is oftentimes really helpful for just and as like a quick exercise. You don't have to like rewrite all the melodies to like Bohemian Rhapsody or something like that. But just like think about it in terms of like that's the thing that's possible, and then you have the like seedling of a new idea for some new song that you might write.
Yeah. So you could start with this where you have the chords still in place, or you could say, all right, I'm going to take the song structure of the song that I just picked and erase the melody and the lyrics and the chords, but keep the structure and fill in from there. So
New
again,
song.
yeah, boom. New song. But yeah, there are tons of songs that have the same chord progression. So if you can find a chord progression you like and get the other song melody out of your head enough to write your own song, then that could be a really, really good way to go.
You say, does everybody kind of understand what that means? That chord progressions often get recycled?
Yeah, the one thing that pops to mind is the axis of 4 awesome chords or whatever.
Yeah, I was just
exactly.
thinking of that.
Yeah,
the
that's
YouTube
it.
video, Axis of Awesome.
Yeah, anytime you talk about